Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to this Lunch and Learn event. I'm Paul Thompson, the Marketing Manager at Phase 2. We also have Elliot Zisman, Founder and Director at Phase 2. So today we're going to be talking about how to approach potential cold clients in a way which ensures we're not annoying them. We'll be covering the who, the what, and the when. Yeah, over to you, Elliot.
Thanks, Paul. And of course, if anyone's got any questions, please use the chat function or just speak, I suppose. Paul can see on that laptop over there anyone chatting, so we should try and coordinate things. So yeah, hi, I'm Elliot Zisman. I've been doing outbound marketing for far longer than I can care to remember. So hopefully I can share some insights. And I think, one of the challenges that people have in this field is either coming across as annoying or worrying about coming across as annoying and how it might impact their brand. And yet, for many companies, outbound marketing is important, and it does need to be part of the sales and marketing strategy. Exactly for which companies that is, we can address probably in a different topic. But hopefully those people on the call do accept that contacting some people in a cold way is an important thing for them to do. So, to me, the overall thing with solving this problem of not being too, not coming across as annoying is really about a mindset and how you go about doing it. I think the first thing I'll say is you've got to respect the reader. I have a core belief that the people receiving your message are intelligent beings that you can talk to as you can talk to any other human being. So respect the reader, but you don't need to be sycophantic in that. Yeah, and I'll sort of talk through some examples shortly. I think the other thing is that we seem, and I don't know if everyone on this call is British, but there definitely seems to be a British issue with people don't like being sold to. And that's fine. No one likes being sold to kind of in an aggressive way, but I do think that's the wrong way of looking at it. I would say that no one minds having their problems fixed for them. And if you can make sure that the messaging you send out can show how the problems that you fix and how you do it, I think that's the right way around of doing things. And overall, get this right, and it does work for the right types of companies. It is a very, very effective way of setting up meetings. So there's three things we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll throw out open up some questions. Three things we're going to focus on today is about speaking to the right person with the right message at the right time. So we're going to address those one by one, what to do. So who to speak to? The more focused you can be on your ideal customer profile, the more you can tailor the message for them. There are definitely limits as to how tailored you need to be, which we'll come on to in a minute. But look clearly at the type of company that you want to speak to, the industry, the size of the company, the location, how fast they're growing, those kinds of things. And look at the type of person you want to speak to, their function or seniority, also their location, how long they've been in their role for, all sorts of things. And I think the most annoying thing, if you get this wrong, the most annoying thing in the world is to get a message that isn't meant for you. It's like, I don't think it really happens anymore, but we used to get, certain people of a certain age used to get wrong number call you all the time. Before, people stored your number in their phone and no one remembered anyone's phone number, they just dialed it. And I think if you're constantly getting a wrong number, getting a message that isn't for you, that is annoying. Now, if there's thousands of people in your ideal customer profile or target market, break it down into groups of say 500 or to 1,000 people. You can be more focused on that size. So you can start to guess the likely pain that they'll have. For example, if you say, right, I want to talk to a marketing director in the UK working in retail. You may know the types of pain points they've got. or you want to speak to a IT security analyst working for a bank, these kinds of things. So the more you can put into those sort of groups, those archetypes, the more you can take a guess at what their pains are and how you can address them. You know, for some of our clients, they break this down further into companies and sort of do account-based marketing. But just be warned that the smaller you go and the more hyper-personalized you go, the longer it will take to find someone who needs your help. And I would argue going too personalized isn't the way either. Again, we can talk about that separately.
That's kind of counter to a lot of what you will, well, there's a lot of messaging out there and a lot of articles that you might read or come across which really emphasize personalization. But what we're saying here is you can go too far with that, you can be too tight with that, and it can actually...
Yeah, I mean, to me, you can guess a pain point by the role in the company. And if they have other very specific pains, I don't think any amount of research on them, unless they've publicly talked about it, you're just guessing. Yeah. And anything else you do is too personalized is just weird. You know, oh, hi, I see we both have, you know, cousins that went to St Hilda's Grammar School, and my gardener also went there, and blah, you know, focus on the pains they're likely to have that you can solve. And unless you specifically know something that is unique to that individual, I don't see any point in hyper-personalizing from there. Yeah. But the first thing to do is, you know, obviously, you know, just the first thing to do is make sure you're talking to someone that has at least a chance of the problem that you can solve.
Yeah.
And ask them, you know, this is the problem we solved, and you know, you're not going to get it right every time, but more likely than not. But what you're talking about now, you know, we've talked about the who. Yeah, we'll move on to the sort of what the message is, right? Now, I think this applies whether you know, for written or verbal communication, for email, for LinkedIn, or posting letters. You know, be clear and concise, right? It's, you know, there's lots of people that want to speak to your prospect, so make sure you're really clear about why they should want to speak to you in a concise way. Be quick. Yeah. Written versus verbal, phone calls versus messaging. I mean, to me, there's no doubt that, you know, written is a lot less intrusive, interrupting, but there's still a time and a place to pick up the phone. I don't say never pick up the phone, but personally, we kind of start off with some written communication to introduce, and then maybe follow up by phone if there's a level of interest. So when you're writing things, you know, be clear. You know, just say who you typically, you know, who your typical clients are. That helps people say, oh, I recognize this. You know, I work with founders of tech companies. If I send that message to a marketing director for a bank, okay, you know, finance company, they're going to, I mean, it's not really me. Yeah. But if you break it down, say, I'm going to send this message to the founders of tech companies, they kind of say, okay, you've got my attention. How do you help them? What pain do you solve? Yeah. You know, I work with founders of tech companies, and they keep paying for lead generation, but are frustrated with the results. They just want their pipeline filled. Some that will apply to a good proportion of them. Of course, not everyone has that problem. Guess what? They're not going to buy our service or your service. So let's not worry too much about them. But if you're going to tap on them and say, oh, yes, I am that person, I have that problem, this is a good start. So who do you work with? How do you help them? What pain do you solve? And the next step is, why should they believe you? For example, you know, and I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, or I've recently helped this kind of company achieve this kind of result. Yeah. So get them. So those are the sort of three things very clearly: who you work with, how you help, and why they should believe. Yeah. And then end with an informal, you know, a very clear call to action that we find what's best, certainly on LinkedIn. you know, an informal one, you know, fancy a chat, worth a chat, you know, would you like to know more? That comes right back to the bit I said at the start about talk to someone like they're a human being.
Yeah, it's conversational.
Certainly conversational. Yeah, I think if you're writing letters or maybe emails, you can be a bit more formal, longer, but I always think short is better. Yeah. Again, the mindset, you're not just selling them something they don't want. You're helping fix a problem that they may well have. And that means you and them are equally, you're here to help each other. You're peers. And so you're not just interrupting them for the sake of it. Yeah. And if they have that problem, they can go, oh, cool. Yeah, definitely free jump on the call.
And it's so important to remember just how much you're sort of buying for their attention with other people, which is why, yeah, keep it concise, certainly on email, but even more so if we're talking about direct messaging on social media like LinkedIn. You know, you've really got to get to the point with those things in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so we've talked about the sort of key, that's the key, what you should do. Yeah. Let's talk a bit about what do you know what? I receive, as I'm sure everyone on the call does, lots and lots and lots of messages all the time. And let's go through some of the ones that aren't so great. We've talked about trying to be too personal. Yeah, fine. There's people that just focus on the features rather than the points. You know, hello from IT development company. We have many skills in PHP development, but they don't. And maybe, you know, they're not really, you know, they list all the skills they've got, right? But that's just the feature. You know, they may, you know, might touch on some of the benefits, how people are better than everyone else, you know, but really they're not addressing the pain. So these guys are they're coming in from overseas to companies in the UK, talking about their skill sets and the fact they're maybe cheaper or better. Great. But what they're really not doing is addressing the pains that the clients have had. What is the pain? In this instance, there's simply not enough software developers available in the UK. They're all expensive, relatively. They don't stick around and they want to work remotely anyway. So if they're going to do that, you may as well have them anywhere. And these are the pain points, but then people aren't doing that. They're just focusing on the features. Focus on the user, the recipient, the pains they're feeling. They can ask you, you know, more about the features later. Don't be cheesy or sycophantic. You know, hello, I know you're busy. No, I mean, I am, but you don't know you're busy. So the first thing you're doing is starting off with a lie. And I know it's just a turn of phrase, any more so than, you know, I hope you are well, which every email seems to contain. But I know you're busy. It just like, you didn't really, yeah, I was getting them from one company on Christmas Eve, just a bit after Christmas, I think on New Year's Day. They'd sent me 3 emails in a week. One, I was on holiday and shouldn't have been checking my email anyway, but still. So I wasn't, and it's ridiculous. And if you are, why are you not respecting this by, you know, sending me buckets of emails? Yeah. Likewise, in a similar way, don't be apologetic. Yeah. I'm sorry for getting in touch. Yeah. You know, I hope you don't mind me, you know, emailing you in this way. I'm sorry if it's interrupting you.
This is one of my bugbears because I think it really shows or demonstrates a lack of confidence in your own proposition if you're having to apologize for, you know, bringing it up and speaking to somebody about it. I think apologizing at the start definitely breeds some contempt perhaps in the person reading the message, which is the last thing you want to do.
Do you remember what I was talking about just before about being at that peer level?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm here to fix a problem you've got.
Yeah.
Nothing the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, if you're offering a solution that can genuinely solve a problem, yeah. there's then the thing which I see a lot, which is about people trying to be fun or being funny. Now, I'm hilarious, and but rarely would I reach out, sorry, Americanism, get in touch with someone, yeah, with a joke. Now, unless you're, it's just a high risk maneuver, yeah. And I have seen some good ones, don't get me wrong, but I don't know about you. There's a lot of people use the same format of joke, yeah, which is saying, oh, by email message 4, it's like, oh, I guess you're not replying because you're stuck inside a whale or you've been abducted by aliens. Which one is it? Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you know, that's a joke from a 1980s rom-com called When Harry Met Sally. And the actual joke in that movie said, when Harry left it on Sally's answering machine, said, if you're there, please pick up the phone. I really want to talk to you. The fact that you're not answering me leads me to believe you're either not at home, A, not at home, B, at home, but don't want to talk to me, or C, at home, desperately want to talk to me, but trapped under something heavy. If it's A or C, please call me back. It was kind of amusing then. 1989, good joke. And it's an answer phone message, and then maybe I'm making cultural references that no one on the call is getting. But it's the point is, it's a dated joke. People have seen it before.
Yeah, it's the highly subjective nature of humor. I think, you're immediately setting yourself up to alienate the person you're reaching out to if they don't share your sense of humor and they don't get the joke. So why take the risk?
Yeah. Keep it clear. Who do you work with? How do you help them? Why should they believe you?
Yeah.
Now, the final thing to talk about here is the when, the cadence. Now, we've all seen this kind of someone saying, oh, I'm going to send 4 messages. We've all seen, I'm going to send 4 messages over a 2-week period. I want one after the first one, 3 days later, 4 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later. Yeah, plug into this up one. And it ends with a kind of, sorry to keep bothering you. This is the last message I sent, I promise. Or, apology, and ending the things. Just doing a final check-in. Don't worry, this isn't your typical check, just checking in. I'm not going to keep reaching out after this. This is the last email I'll send, etc. I don't know why people think that sending, all these messages, 3 or 4 messages over a 2-week period is going to help. And they make the assumption the only reason you haven't replied is that you're too busy or you haven't seen it. But how about it's just something they don't need at the moment? They just don't have the pain or the budget to solve that pain at that particular time. They may have other priorities. Now, I don't think that's going to change super quick. We kind of believe that send the right message to the right person, great. And in time, they may be in a better position to reply. The pain may have got worse in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. That's fine. Yeah, have some patience. Nurture your connections, LinkedIn or email, over time with a long enough gap so that you're not annoying, but a short enough gap so that you're not forgotten. I think every 1 or 2 months, right? Make the assumption they've read it and they've gone, interesting, that is for me, but not right now. And then when you get back in touch, use those messages to, that's when you want to share interesting things. Case studies of how you've helped similar people, thought pieces, quizzes, invites to events. No one, what you're doing there is giving them more reason to believe you, to build up trust in that you can fix a problem they have. And no one will find that annoying if they're that right person with that particular issue. Because it gives them, as I say, more reason to believe you. You're inviting them to a cocktail party or an event or a talk about something that is relevant to them and their field. Yeah, spread things out. The timing will be right eventually for enough people. So there we go. That's 20 minutes of talking. We nailed it, Paul. In summary, make sure you're talking to the right people. Make sure you have a message that's focused on the pain you can take away, and take your time to build trust. You will get the replies, and on the whole, you won't be an annoying Git. Are there any questions from the people on our lunch and learn? This is our first lunch and learn for a little while, so hopefully we got the format right. We've added some value. We haven't annoyed you with the messaging. If anyone has any questions, or if there's any bits you want me to expand on, I will happily take those. And if there aren't, we can get our own lunch.
It's looking quite quiet.
It is looking quite quiet, isn't it? But that's okay.
It's fine.
We will send out a recording, and if you would like to speak to us or get any personal, let's say if you're doing this yourself in house and you want us to review your messages and review your process, more than happy to do that. As a company, what we do is we run these campaigns for our clients, and we book them meetings. And if it didn't work, we wouldn't be in business. So I'd like to think it does. And if you've got any questions, please get in touch. You will have an email, and you can find me on LinkedIn at, well, just type in my name, Elliot Zisman. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. Paul, thank you for turning it up.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Look out for our next event, which ideally we'll be doing this once a month, all on various topics relating to marketing, outbound marketing mainly. So yeah, with that, thank you.
Let's end the call.